When you go to make computer-generated water, one of the problems is that water is really not one thing. When you look at a scene with water in it, there's the water surface itself, and then there's spray, which is really just small, loose particles. And then there's a transition zone where if you watch a wave as it comes up, it'll come up and break into little tiny particles, little blobs that still look clear. They still look like water, and then they fragment more and turn into spray. It's the believability of that transition that's the hardest thing to do right in computer-generated water. And the reason is when we model something with particles, the particles we use are bigger than the size of a spray drop, just because of the computational requirements. If you really wanted to do a shot like the whale tongue shot, you would really need billions of particles of water, but we can't do that. We can at most do millions. And so we have a lot of tricks that go into taking this fairly coarse-grained description of the dynamics, turning it into a surface as the surface moves around, and then cheating the transition in various ways of the surface from a solid surface of water breaking down into spray and then splashing off.
We'll get a shot like this out of animation, right, that has no water, just the characters sort of holding on, and the director will tell us, oh, I want like a whole ton of water at the beginning, and it'll sort of ramp down over the progression of the shot. And so the first thing we do is we start out with these things that got dubbed ball pit renders because it looks like, a big Chuck E. Cheese ball pit. Problem is, sometimes the water doesn't do what you want, right? And so we showed this to the director, and he's like, well, I don't think he could talk, if he was under that much water. And then once we get something that we're happy with at this ball pit level, then we'll go and we'll actually try to form a mesh out of it. This sort of takes all the particles, and then where there's a lot of particles, or where it really should be a solid mass of water, it gives us the solid surface that we can use. And then everywhere else, you get these particles. And we're pretty happy with how this looks. It's out of his face now, so you can actually read his facial expressions. And then it'll go to shading and lighting. They'll do this like fancy sort of transparency, and they'll actually make it look like water. And then that's sort of what you end up seeing.